This week, we're starting a new series, and the name of this series is a word that most of you know and a lot of you use: awkward. If you're anything like me, you've experienced some pretty awkward situations in your lifetime so far. I'm going to give you a situation, and if you think it's awkward, I want you to give me a thumbs up. If you don't think it's awkward at all, I want you to give me a big thumbs down. Ready? Seeing a teacher when you're out to eat with your family or friends. Falling down the stairs in between your classes at school. The Human Growth and Development Unit in health class. Your dad telling awful jokes in front of your friends. Accidentally responding to the wrong group chat with a funny text that you meant to send to your bestie. When someone has something in their teeth but you don't want to embarrass them. Waving at somebody who you thought was waving at you, but they definitely were not. Those situations are awkward. They're cringy and uncomfortable and embarrassing, and because of that, they make us feel awkward too. I think for most of us, awkward moments are something that we try to avoid. Well, for the next 4 weeks, we're diving into a series called Awkward, and in it, we're going to lean into one of the things that probably tops your list of awkward stuff: attraction and desires. While you might feel weird, uncomfortable, strange, or even awkward talking about romantic relationships, let me assure you that you're not alone. In fact, those feelings are normal, and even though it might be easier to avoid those awkward moments, we believe that church is the best place to have conversations like this because we care about you and want to help you understand what this stuff means, even if it might be a little awkward. Sometimes the stuff we see or hear makes us feel awkward. Or maybe we want to know more. Maybe we're curious, but we've never talked about it before because we're just not sure if it's okay to talk about it. Or maybe we don't like talking about it because we don't understand it. After all, we might not be experiencing attraction or desires, and we might not have a lot of interest in things like dating and sex, and that's okay. Here's why it's so important for us to talk about this stuff here. Attraction and desires are not bad things, and being curious and having questions about them isn't wrong either. It's not something that we have to be embarrassed or feel awkward about. In fact, it's actually part of the way that we're designed. We were created by God to experience attraction and have desires, and we were made to express our desires in ways that are good, loving, and natural. That nervous or excited feeling that you get when you like someone and your hand bumps theirs, or even when you think about them, that's a good and normal thing that you were created to feel. The problem comes when we're not sure how to respond to those desires or how to even talk about them with someone else. But trust me, there's an answer. There's a specific plan that God created for attraction and desires. And even if it's awkward to talk about, it's something that really, I want you to understand. God actually cares a lot about attractions and desires. And people who really loved God wrote down a lot of this stuff about sex, relationships, and desires and how we use our bodies. And we can find it all in the Bible. Today we're going to look at some wise advice about desires written by a really important guy named Paul. Now, Paul wrote a lot of the books in the New Testament, which is the part of the Bible that's about Jesus and what happened after he was on earth. These books written by Paul were really letters that he originally wrote to Christians to help them understand how to live and follow Jesus together. See, following Jesus was a new thing back then, and because of that, people needed help figuring it out. Paul was really good at helping them see what mattered to God and what should matter to those who follow him as a result. And honestly, I think we'd all say that we need that kind of help still today. That's why I think we can turn to Paul's words to help us understand a little more about what we're supposed to do with our God-given desires. Take a look at this with me. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what's God's will, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Now I know that's a lot in just 2 verses, so let's break it down. Paul started off by talking about who God is. He's someone who offers us mercy. Mercy simply means getting compassion and kindness when you don't deserve it. When your teacher doesn't take off points when your homework is late, even though those are the rules, she's showing you mercy by not giving you the bad grade that you deserved. Now, because we're human, we all mess up sometimes. We make mistakes and wrong decisions that don't always line up with what God has in mind for us. We end up choosing to do things that we want instead of what's best for us. That's called sin. And because of sin, we all deserve to be separated from God. But instead, God had mercy on us, and He sent Jesus to save us and bring us back into relationship with Him. That's the ultimate act of mercy. Paul was saying that because God has been merciful to us, we know that He is kind to us. That means that we can trust Him when He tells us the best way to live. We can respond to what God has done for us, to His kindness to us, by living the way that He calls us to live. He wants us to live with integrity. Integrity means doing the right thing in all circumstances, even when no one's watching. And when it comes to our desires, He wants us to live with sexual integrity. That means choosing to respond to the things we feel, think, and desire in a way that respects ourselves, God, and others. See, Paul explained that we should use our desires in ways that are pleasing to God. It's not that we are supposed to get rid of or ignore our desires. It's natural to have them, but we should respond in ways that are good and pleasing and honorable to God, ourselves, and others. That is sexual integrity. You see, God designed sex as a way for married couples to connect with each other on a deeper level. It's a way to express their love for each other. And when we set boundaries and respect others and ourselves, we're choosing to honor God's plan for sex. In other words, what we do with our desires matters. Sounds great, right? Respond to your desire in a way that's good and pleasing to God. Honor God with your desires? No problem, huh? Choose sexual integrity? Got it. Well, not so fast. See, it's one thing to read verses like this and hear a message about God's plan for our desires, but it's another thing to actually know what it looks like to live it out on a daily basis. When we find ourselves curious to watch that YouTube clip, or interested in holding hands with that new kid at school, or drawn in by those pictures on Snapchat, or just curious about the ways our bodies are changing, then what do? How do we actually respond in a way that honors God? Well, look back at the last part of Paul's letter here. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. We can start by renewing or changing our mind. We can ask God to show us His plan for our desires. We can ask Him to change the way that we see it, to understand it better, to notice how it's impacting our lives. And we can trust His plan because it is good. See? When it comes to all this attraction stuff, God is actually for you. The way He asks us to honor Him with our desires is actually a good thing. He wants to help us express our desires in ways that are healthy and positive for us and others. And when we start by changing our minds and asking God to help us see it as He does, we'll better be able to pay attention. We'll be able to notice when our response to those desires are off, and we'll be able to notice when someone else is encouraging or even forcing us to act in a way that we know doesn't fit what God wants for us. Now, I want to pause here to say that there may be some of you in this room who feel like this choice has been taken from you. Maybe you've been shown pictures or videos that you didn't ask to see, and they confused you or made you feel things that you weren't sure you were even ready for. And it's maybe even something you feel a lot of guilt about. If that's you, let me just remind you that it's never too late to choose sexual integrity for yourself. This choice is still yours, no matter what has happened in the past. And someone like your small group leader would be a great person to talk to about some of the things that you might be feeling right now. Now, there may be others of you that have experienced abuse or harassment, and if that's you, I am so sorry. What has been done to you is not your fault, and what's been done to you does not impact your sexual integrity. Something that has been done to you does not determine if you are honoring yourself, others, or God with your own desires. So if that's something that you're dealing with, I'd love to encourage you to talk to your small group leader about it. They want to see you get the help and the support you deserve. Because for everyone in this room, the truth is, God loves you. He created you to experience attraction and desires, and what you do with your desires matters. So what can we do to make sure that what we do with our desires matters? Well, here are a few thoughts. Choose sexual integrity. Remember, sexual integrity is choosing to respond to the things that we feel, think, and the desires that we have in a way that respects ourselves, others, and God. You have a chance right now to set a standard for how you're going to respond to your desires. You get to decide how you're going to act, what pictures you're going to post from now on, what you're going to wear, what words you're going to choose to speak. You get to choose what you're going to watch or look at or think about, and maybe up until now, you found yourself not choosing sexual integrity. Maybe you've made decisions that haven't honored God with your desires. Or maybe you've even found yourselves in situations that you didn't expect or ask for, situations that you weren't ready for and you didn't seek out for yourself. For any of us, the good news is that no matter what we've chosen or dealt with in the past, we can always begin to choose sexual integrity today. Pay attention. You know, God has a plan when it comes to your desires. God designed sex as a way for married couples to connect with each other on a deeper level, and it's a way to express their love for each other. So when you hear or see something that doesn't match up with that plan, pay attention. Notice things that push you to do things that don't honor God or others or yourself. Talk about desires in a positive and appropriate way with adults that you trust. They can help you set healthy boundaries and are a safe place to process struggles or questions that you have about this stuff. Your small group leader does not claim to be the expert on this topic, but I promise that they have more wisdom and insight than you think. And besides that, they love you and they want what's best for you when it comes to desires. Okay, so was that as awkward as you thought it was going to be? Hopefully not. Because the truth is, we want you to feel safe to have conversations about things like attractions and sexual integrity here at church. It's one of the reasons that we created small groups, to connect you with other people that you can trust, to encourage you to honor God with your desires. And it's why you have small group leaders who want to help you figure out how to live and receive God's best for your life.